Along with modernity, alienation emerged as a central theme across various art forms, evolving alongside philosophical discourse, which Marx notably shaped after the Hegelian model. For Marx, the alienation resulted from hierarchical class relations, reducing the working class solely to its role as a mere force of production. Tracing its roots back to Kierkegaard and the genesis of existentialism, alienation came to symbolize humanity's struggle to reconcile with the world. The underlying causes of this pervasive angst and isolation are multifaceted. One of the causes could be the loss of transcendent meaning, as highlighted by philosophers like Nietzsche, amidst the erosion of European morality, influenced by Christianity. Another cause might be the challenge of assimilating into a society that was viewed by sociologists such as Ferdinand Tönnies as a synthetic construct, superseding organic communities. Moreover, it could be the Kafkaesque absurdity of a world dominated by Weberian rational authority, where the very rigidity of its rules and bureaucracy starts to fracture, revealing its inherent dysfunctionality. Cinema looks at all these forms of alienation in its exploration of human nature, showing how it is often manifested through the incapacity of human beings to communicate with each other. In this exploration, silence becomes one of the most powerful tools for conveying the feelings of solitude and the daunting struggle to adapt throughout one's lifetime. Eureka is a remarkable cinematic depiction of alienation, portrayed as a silent and subtle form of estrangement, following a harrowing bus hijacking. This event serves as a catalyst that brings together the only three survivors: the bus driver, Makoto Sawai, and the two school siblings, Kozue and Naoki. Depicted with a sepia-like filter, Eureka unfolds as a tale of redemption in the aftermath of this traumatic experience, which profoundly alters the lives of its protagonists. Naoki and Kozue, now living in a world of silence, apart from their telepathic connection, create a barrier between themselves, the outside world, and their past selves, becoming orphans just after the bus hijacking. This estrangement is characterized by their inability to communicate, yet paradoxically, it fosters a deeper level of connection between them. The shared trauma bonds the characters in their isolation from the external world. Sawai's son leaves his family and wanders without a trace for 2 years, when he returns with the hope of starting from the very beginning. However, his longing remains unfulfilled, as reconciliation with his past life and relationships proves elusive. The estrangement he feels is not excused by those he left behind, and having lived a near-death experience, he finds himself marginalized, being the prime suspect in a series of murdered women happening in his hometown. His reencounter and future cohabitation with the two siblings are questioned by their young cousin, who is unable to acknowledge the bond created by their shared trauma. The movie portrays their journey toward redemption through a road trip by the bus, symbolizing both their tragedy and eventual salvation. Naoki is revealed as being the murderer, with the dramatic economy that characterizes the whole movie, as alienation is conveyed by the silence of the characters. The distance between us, as mere spectators, and the inside world of the characters becomes a poignant analogy. mirroring the distance between the other characters in the movie and the protagonists. The intense confrontation between Naoki and Sawai-san is portrayed through the shared language of those who have experienced similar alienation.
Ikiru to wa言わん。Notte。死なんでくれ。
Naoki's decision to surrender to the police marks the beginning of his path to redemption, with Kozue and Sawai-san vowing to wait for his return, despite facing judgment and cruelty from the world.
直樹はどこにおってもよこと。いつか直樹が帰ってきて、なくしたもんが取り戻すと。その時お前んごたもんが直樹の邪魔をしやろ。
The film concludes with a sense of hope, as the sea represents the culmination of the protagonist's journey. Kozue performs a ritual of throwing stones, calling out the names of those who influenced their lives since the bus hijacking, signifying their mission's completion and readiness to start anew.
Sawai-san! Kozue!
Another film that delves into the theme of silence and isolation as symbols of alienation from the outside world is Paris, Texas. The movie begins with a panoramic view of the Texan desert, bathed in the torrid sun, a landscape Ronald Barthes identifies as emblematic of both liberation and the profound existential emptiness, symbolizing American alienation. Against this desolate backdrop, a solitary figure emerges, dressed in tattered clothes and bearing the marks of hardship, unmistakably in search of water. Travis, the central character, reappears after a mysterious 4-year absence.
Travis, hey! Don't you recognize me? It's Walt!
His silent demeanor upon reuniting with his brother Walt suggests both lingering trauma and deliberate self-imposed seclusion. Travis's refusal to engage in conversation mirrors his inner alienation, accentuated by the vast emptiness of the desert, where signs of human presence are scarce.
You mind telling me where you're headed, Trav? What's out there?
In the subsequent exchange with his brother, Travis appears to regress to a primitive state, struggling with gaps in his memory and striving to make peace with his former self. His interaction with Hunter, the son that he and his younger wife, Jane, abandoned 4 years prior, highlights his struggle to embody the father persona. Travis's confusion regarding the social roles he is expected to fulfill mirrors the alienation experienced by Jane, who has chosen to relinquish her maternal responsibilities towards Hunter. The encounter between Travis and Jane in a peep show club underscores the theme of estrangement. The impossibility of communication is depicted on multiple levels. Firstly, the setting allows for dialogue only through a partitioned glass using a telephone, highlighting the artificiality of their interaction. The play of light in their separate rooms casts them into darkness, obscuring their view of each other. More than that, the dialogue exchange between Travis and Jane fails to bring about any reconciliation or change between them. Travis recounts their failed love story, leading up to the fateful night when, in an attempt to prevent Jane from leaving him, he ties her to the stove with a belt, only to awaken surrounded by fire with both his family members gone. Travis's speech triggers a moment of anagnorisis, but falls short of fostering genuine dialogue between the couple. The true connection occurs later, between Jane and Hunter, conveyed without words but through their embrace, contrasting sharply with the cold, spatial distance between her and Travis. The mother-son reunion unfolds under Travis's distant gaze, and his departure shows his inability to overcome his current state of alienation and return to his former self. In films such as Eureka and Paris, Texas, alienation stems from a significant traumatic event, compelling the characters into social isolation and silence. Conversely, in Drive My Car and So Long My Son, the characters conceal their estrangement and suffering while continuing to fulfill their social roles. Drive My Car powerfully explores how art can mirror reality and transform it through its cathartic effects. Ryusuke, a theater actor and director, shares a relationship with his wife Otto that is largely built on their sexual bond. Otto, who is a screenwriter, uses this intimacy to create her stories, which she recounts to her husband during the sexual act. Despite this connection, the film subtly portrays the growing feelings of alienation between them, marked by the death of their young daughter and Otto's refusal to have another child. The scene where Ryusuke performs in the absurd play Waiting for Godot, followed by his encounter with his wife and the television star who will become her lover, sets the stage for the character's estrangement and the impossibility of communication. This theme is brilliantly juxtaposed throughout the film, using Ryusuke's multilingual theatrical technique, in which actors interpret their characters in different languages, unable to understand each other.
小声点，别人会听见的。
Ryusuke's silence in response to his wife's infidelity highlights the communication gap between them and the simulacrum of their daily life, which remains unaffected by the betrayal. Additionally, Ryusuke's ritual of memorizing his lines by listening to Otto's voice recordings in his car has a sense of mechanical detachment that accentuates this gap. Paradoxically, this theatrical-like everyday existence is motivated, as the character confesses, by the fear of losing his wife, which ultimately becomes real with her unexpected death the night Ryusuke delays his return home.
要するに25年間あいつは人様の地位にふんぞり返っていたというわけだ。あの偉そうな歩き方。His
decision to direct the multilingual version of Uncle Vanya for a theater festival, 2 years after Otto's death, signifies the interplay between two different levels, the reality of his life and the fiction of the play. These levels often mimic and juxtapose each other at various points.
私たちのことを思って
The important moment of casting a mute actress who communicates through Korean Sign Language as the character of Sonia in his play reflects Ryusuke's encounter and future bond with his quiet driver, Misaki, a young girl burdened by loss and regret. This bond is paradoxically formed through silence, just as the mute Sonia in the play connects deeply with the other characters and moves the audience without words. Misaki's history of mistreatment by her mother and her regret over not saving her life parallels the relationship between Ryusuke and Otto, which similarly ended with loss and the sorrow of not being able to save her.
帰ってきてほしい。生きてほしい。もう一度だけ話がしたい。
The relationship between Ryusuke and Misaki echoes the story of Sonia and Uncle Vanya, a role Ryusuke ultimately accepts to play by the end of the movie. Facing lives filled with suffering and selfless work for others, Vanya and Sonia find solace in their shared sorrow and draw strength from their companionship. Similarly, the film's final scene shows Misaki in the future, now in possession of Ryusuke's car, suggesting an intertwined destiny for the two. The themes of loss, guilt, and estrangement from loved ones are central to So Long My Son. Spanning over 30 years, the film chronicles the lives of two families, capturing the cultural, social, and economic changes in China following the Cultural Revolution and the rapid modernization of the 2000s. Presented in a non-linear fashion, the movie highlights pivotal moments that shaped the characters' lives and development. The communist factories and their wretched dormitories serve as the backdrop for the two couples, who are connected by their proximity, by the shared daily experiences and the bond between their sons, born on the same day.
这不还是兄弟吗？啊，跟咱俩一样，上一辈子是兄弟，下一辈子也是兄弟。
However, the relationships between the families began to deteriorate after Li Yun was pressured by her friend and factory director Han to have an abortion in compliance with China's one-child policy. Facing the traumatic loss of their unborn child, the following scene shows Li Yun and Yao Jun stepping onto the factory's event stage to bitterly receive their award for adhering to the one-child policy. The sad irony of the kitsch celebration, juxtaposed with their sorrowful expressions, shows the alienation inherent in a system that ruthlessly enforces conformity and permits no deviations from its imposed ideology. The death of their only child, Xinxin, at the reservoir while playing with Hao Hao, the son of Haiyan, and the other children, marks not only the couple's estrangement from their old friends, but also the erosion of their relationship, consumed by grief and regret. Their decision to move, in an attempt to escape the past, is followed by the adoption of a boy whom they name Xinxin, a choice that represents their futile effort to overcome their loss. As Xinxin grows estranged from his family, he exhibits delinquent behavior, ultimately resulting in his departure from his parents' home.
我也讨厌你们。谢谢。让开。谢谢。
The movie's title evokes the eternal loss the couple is destined to experience twice, silently consuming their lives over 3 decades and condemning them to solitary existences where human interactions become mechanical and daily activities automatic.
时间已经停止了，剩下的就是等着慢慢变老。
As in all the films analyzed, the characters' alienation and internal pain unfold over many years, with silence governing their daily existence. The extreme acts they succumb to become the most prolific moments when the intensity of their emotions materializes for minutes and becomes visible with the bare eye. However, the film ends on a positive note, reuniting the old friends as Haiyan's final wish before her death. The birth of Hao Hao's son and the video presence of Molly and Yao Jun's illegitimate son serve as counterpoints to the motive of loss, culminating in a poignant moment when Xinxin calls his parents to tell them he will come home.
我们都好着呢，你放心，好着呢。哎，我们把这边的事情处理好了，很快就回去。啊，等着我们啊，爸爸妈妈可想你了。